A very warm welcome this morning to everybody. It's live at the waterhole time with me today. My name is Ben Coley, and for the next couple of hours, we are going to travel and investigate what's going on at all of our wonderful locations. We've started off the afternoon at Safari Hook in Namibia with a very elegant looking oryx and a springbok, two of Africa's most stunning and iconic antelopes. And we are hoping for a good day. Some interesting sightings, some interesting behaviour, and hopefully some interesting discussions, particularly from our regular viewers who we know love to send in questions and comments. And for those of you who are joining for the first time, be warned, this is live and interactive. And you are very much encouraged to send in your thoughts and questions to me, and they will be sent through to me, and I will do my best to answer them for you. So on the screen, you can see the ways to get in touch with us, and you can ask me absolutely anything, relevant or irrelevant to what we happen to be watching on the screen. Anything to do with nature, science, me, anything you like. But a very regal looking gemsbok here, certainly. Always one of my favourite antelopes. I just love the patterning on them, the contrast, particularly on the face of the black and the white, the way that stripe seems to go through the eye and almost connect with the horn itself. Very, very striking antelope. A very good morning to Claire Cat. Greeting everybody. Claire Cat, thank you for sending in your message, and I'm glad you could also join us. And Mercedes Ben, you're also with us. A good morning to you, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending, of course, on where people are joining us from. And hello to Ellie as well. Hello, Ellie. And Mr. Elemental from Albany in Western Australia. So very much an evening show for you, I would think, if my geography and time zones are correct. And hello to Lenny as well. Wonderful to have so many people that we recognise, and some new names as well, greeting us. And more importantly, greeting this beautiful gemsbok bull. Nice to see in the foreground what looks like a couple of Namakwa doves. Certainly one Namakwa dove, somewhere on the rocks. You can just see his long tail sticking out from behind, as well as what I'm assuming is a ring-necked dove, formerly the Cape turtle dove. Of course, very normal to see plenty of doves around the water. Being a granivorous bird, meaning that they predominantly eat seeds, they traditionally do not contain an awful lot of moisture, so doves are quite water dependent. They have to still get water into their system. So you'll find a lot of seed-eating birds will regularly come down to drink, and they can also be a useful indicator if you are lost in the bush and you hear lots of seed-eating birds together. There is a chance that they have congregated around water. So whilst listening for things like frog sound, aquatic birds is a probably far more reliable way of doing it, certainly. Maybe, just maybe, a group of waxbills or firefinches or doves, even things like sand grouses might be able to direct you towards water. And important to know your different sandgrouse species, and if you can do it by call, that will make your life easier, because different sandgrouse species do tend to drink at different times. So the Namakwa sandgrouse tends to fly towards water for a drink in the morning. The double-banded sandgrouse generally will go for water in the afternoon. So if you start learning some of these little nuances, it might just help you if you ever find yourself stuck out in the middle of nowhere. But there's beautiful symmetrical markings on the face and scimitar like razor-sharp horns. He couldn't have angled himself any better for the camera, absolutely straight down the face, but really enjoying that patterning. I don't think it would be possible to place that little black stripe in between the eyes any more central to the head. Isn't nature clever? Right, well, that's a really beautiful view of this Gemsbok, but I think let's head over to Onguma. I think we have some birds since we're discussing birds. And some marabou storks. Again, a very striking bird, perhaps for different reasons. Not known to be one of the best looking avian members of the ecosystem out here, but very, very important nonetheless, and mightily impressive wingspan of somewhere close to 3 meters when fully outstretched. Moiti, you're asking whether every individual Gemsbok has its own unique pattern, rather like a zebra. Um, Morty, I don't actually know. I would think so from a very subtle, nuanced perspective, but there isn't quite the obvious variability that you would get with something like a zebra and its stripes or a leopard and its spots. So it probably does, but I think for us with our relatively primitive eyes and pattern recognition skills, it will be very difficult to identify an individual purely based on coat patterning. And we'd rather be relying on some form of maybe a scar or an injury or an unusual patch or just something a bit different. Be like trying to identify every individual impala within a herd, I think would be rather difficult, although I would imagine that other individuals would be able to be far more specific in their recognition. Hello, Badgerbud, as well from Hildeberg in Cape Town. And Meg, you're asking which bird will be able to adapt anywhere in the world. Meg, I don't know. I'm going to go with a chicken, just because they are incredibly adaptable, and there are certainly many, many of them. In terms of the most numerous, of course, that would go to the red-billed quelea, but I'm not sure of what their distribution is worldwide. I think they are only restricted to Africa. But I think, to be honest, what bird would be most adaptable? You have to start looking at things like sparrows or members of the corvid group, the Corvidae family, for their intelligence. I think for any bird to be adaptable across the world, they need to be able to learn to live with humans and make use of the messy environment that we leave. And if they can do that, it would certainly assist them. And of course, the ability to regulate temperature well and to have a wide variety or a wide diet or varying diet. And Catherine Hudson, you're saying, here comes the GNU party. Yep, they're sneaking in from the peripheries. Plenty of marabous enjoying a little bit of a paddle, though. Perhaps they honed in on the sounds of some of those birds also having a drink. And I see, Roger, that's a pretty in-depth question that you've asked there. So just to share it with the group, you're asking, how does the ability to navigate vast featureless deserts without modern tools challenge our reliance on technology for wayfinding, and could strategies inspire resilient navigation systems for humans in extreme environments? Wow, that's a complicated question to start the show. But Roger, assuming you're referring to how animals navigate, and make us look rather stupid with our reliance upon modern technology. Absolutely, but we are still constantly learning how animals do navigate, and technology is wonderful, but it does make us lazy, and we've forgotten a lot of the techniques. Think back to our ancestors, they had no access to Google Maps and to GPS satellite systems, and all of the things that make life an awful lot easier. Like I'm sure many of you, back in the old days, if you wanted to find out how to get somewhere, we had to pull open a big map and figuring it out and follow your path on the map as opposed to just letting uh, somebody with a strange voice talk to you through your car radio or through your phone. So we certainly have got lazy and we've forgotten a lot of these skills. And I'm sure over a prolonged period of time, from an evolutionary perspective, whatever it is that was or is in our brains being used less and less, and will probably begin to diminish over multiple generations, which is one of the dangers of technology. We are limiting our abilities moving forward, becoming so reliant. Lots of wildebeest coming in. But there has been some interesting new research over the last few years, particularly with how birds navigate. Of course, we know they use lots of cues, from visual cues to olfactory cues, even audio cues as well. But one thing that has interested science for a long period of time, and myself as well, is how they navigate over long distances, particularly those migratory birds. We know that migratory birds do use the stars, those that fly at nighttime. They can't recognize individual stars, but they can see the rotation of, a little hop at the back, the rotation of the night sky around the celestial poles. That helps them orientate north and south. They've done experiments proving this using planetariums. But there are other methods used by birds to navigate over long distances as well. But we'll come on to that. But a beautiful big group of blue wildebeest having a drink here at Onguma. But I think we're going to quickly head up to Jack's Pan.
Oh, yes, there's a leopard. I've got a leopard here. My name is Cedric, and behind the camera with me we've got Muscles and Paul. Well, it is Feline Friday.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
My full name is Mpho Tikani. Best part of my job is coming to see nature. Worst part of my job is logging. That's the worst thing ever, because you have to log amount of footage. You sit in front of that computer and yeah, you think of deleting the footage, but no, they need the footage. If I want a camel, probably a soccer player. I know some people don't believe me, but I'm very good, I'm very fast.
And that's it for this morning's drive.
She's just got an impala, everybody.
And we're going to be heading out and seeing what animals we can find.
more natural methods of being able to find a location. Look at all those little pencil-like feathers on the back of the secretary bird blowing in the wind. It's such an awesome bird. And plenty of blacksmith lapwings I've noticed as well. And just the one wildebeest at Jack's camp, and a couple of zebras. And Yorties, you're saying antelopes are so cool. They are, Yorties. We tend to dismiss them, particularly the more common ones, just because we see them so regularly. But I always maintain that if there's lots of something, there's lots of something, because they are very, very good at what they do. Yeah, look at the little secretary bird having a little jog. Nolene, you're saying that secretary birds are your favourite. Just so beautiful. I agree. I think they're definitely in my top 5 birds of all time. Be interesting to hear if there are any other birds that people really enjoy seeing. Do send in your top few birds so we can discuss them. I think I always get asked what are my favourite birds, and they normally change as we do this, but currently, off the top of my head, my top 5 will be secretary bird. The violet-backed starling has always long been one of my favourite. I just love that iridescent purple. Scarlet-chested sunbird, a martial eagle, and what am I going to go with for number 5? Oh, I don't know. I'm going to have to give number 5 a little bit of thought. There's the pressure on now, the last one. Gorgeous bush shrike, maybe. I always love the purple-crested turaco, and when they fly, seeing that incredible crimson underwing that they have because of that terracin, that specialised pigment only found in the turaco family. Beautiful to see this line of zebras and their reflection, but it sounds like we have some more zebras up at Lentor in Kenya. Let's pop up there and check in for the first time today. Hello, zebs. Some Kenyan zebras. I'm still thinking birds. Pink-throated twin spot, that's a beautiful bird. Violet-eared waxbill, that's also rather spectacular. Lion Lloyd, you're asking whether we know why the secretary bird is called a secretary bird. Lion Lloyd, this has come up many times before. I've even looked into it. There is no great definitive answer to that. Some people suggest that those little tail streamers coming off, little sort of streaming feathers, those plumes off the back of their head, may look a little bit like pencils tucked behind ears. But again, if anybody else has any suggestions, do send them in. Always good to have a debate. I'm also going to do another quick check to find out if I can, or to see if I can find out any other suggestions.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Every week, the wilderness delivers.
And that's why we're here.
Drama, chaos, crimes, humour. All moments you'll never forget. We've counted them down, argued about them, and finally picked the very best. From rare sightings to classic bush showdowns, this is nature's weekly highlight reel. Sharp facts, bad jokes, and the wildest top 5 you'll see this side of the savannah. It's not just a show, it's a wild bush week.
Can you hear that?
The wild is calling.
Lenny, you've given your suggestion in terms of your favourite birds. You've gone with the Corrie bustard, understandably so. Verreaux's eagle owl, yep, with those beautiful pink eyelids. Battaliers, also love the contrast of the red and black. Egyptian geese, I wasn't expecting that, but you say you like their feisty attitude. And you've also gone with the secretary bird. Lady Macbeth, you are agreeing that it is the head feathers of the secretary bird that has caused the name. And saying nothing to do with stockings, which I didn't mention on purpose, as all secretaries were male when the bird was named. That's interesting, that I did not know. But I rather like the Arabic etymology of the name suggesting hunting bird. There is, of course, so much Arabic history within the English language. We see it all over, things beginning with algebra and alcohol, all of those things beginning with al have Arabic origins. Not to mention star names, of course. Over 70% of the stars in the sky are named after Arabic things. Helga, you're also agreeing that in ancient times scribes wrote with feathers that were tucked behind the ears, going for the secretary bird idea. That does seem to be the most commonly stated reason for it, and I think it's a brilliant name as well. Trixie Rose, you're saying, aren't they named after Sagittarius the Archer? Their Latin name is, their scientific name, absolutely, yep. With Sagittarius, the constellation, being the archer, aiming his arrow at the scorpion up in the night sky. So absolutely, archers and hunters, certainly comparisons to be drawn there. David, you're asking about that very prominent red on the back of the neck that we saw of that marabou stork. He's just disappeared off screen for now, wanting to know if it is natural. It is natural, as far as I know. Well, I do know. It's a breeding thing, so likely that was a male. It's a visual display to show the females that he is strong and potentially in the right mood to mate. We're coming into breeding season for many birds, of course. The red colour on the head as well often comes up in these conversations. A lot of people concerned that because they've lost a lot of feathers on their head, which may or may not be an evolutionary adaptation to feeding on dead things, because they do scavenge, so a little bit like vultures. But that is also due to the presence of something called gadusol, which is a chemical within the skin that we find in various other things. I believe it was first discovered in fish, in zebrafish, and it actually works as a natural sunblock, stops them from getting sunburn. But a quick scan of the terrain around Onguma. But I think we are going to go. I'm really struggling to remember where we're going, but I think we're going to see some eland somewhere. At Safari Hook, we're spending a lot of time in Namibia, which I fully approve of, one of my favourite places in the world. Wildlife lady, your favourite birds. You've gone with ground hornbills, hummerkops, secretary birds, fisher eagles, and of course the lilac-breasted roller. How did we forget those? That's again one of those examples. We see them regularly, so kind of dismiss them, but they really are one of the most striking birds anywhere on the globe that you will set eyes upon. But the secretary bird does keep cropping up. Elands, of course, very, very important in this part of the world with their history with the Bushmen, considered to be fairly magical animals used as a way of connecting with the spirit world. We see it a lot on cave paintings, and they certainly had, having a bit of a scratch or a dunk of the head, and stars named after elands as well. Procyon and Canis Minor was the male eland and his two wives that we know as Castor and Pollux in Gemini. A lot of historical mythology revolving around elands, particularly in the Namibian area. But right, I believe we've got a giraffe lined up for you at Founders down in the Eastern Cape. Let's go have a look. Checking the coast is clear. Beautiful patterning, very geometric, almost tortoiseshell-like patterning this giraffe has got. I woke up to a giraffe in the garden this morning, which was rather nice. We had a young one suckling from its mother only about 15 metres away from the bedroom window this morning. It was a rather spectacular way to wake up. But very, very pretty markings. Maybe it's the contrast, that sort of crazy paving look that we're getting with the dark patches and the little white rivulets between them.
let's go and take a look. See you out there.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
My full name is Maxine Gaines. Most people that know me really well call me Max. I'm a mum. I have 2 boys. One is 16 years old and one is 14 years old. I'm a very, very proud mama of my 2 boys. I've just always been passionate about leopards. I'm passionate about their conservation. I'm just passionate about everything to do with leopards. I love them.
Ria, you say the best kind of roadblock? Absolutely. Look at this.
Hello, girls.
Out here, every wild moment counts, and as a Wild Earth explorer, you will not miss out. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7, and you can even rewind if you have missed out on something. Enjoy the behind-the-scenes video clips as well as fireside chat, or get the early offers on our travel experiences. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Off the moustache and nostrils. Oh, that was beautiful to see the giraffe. Oh, hello, little Warty. Now you're going to have a roll around in the mud or just have a drink? Or maybe a bit of both. Shelley, you're asking how do giraffes' feeding habits influence ecosystems, particularly in terms of vegetation dynamics and interactions with other herbivores. Well, my initial thoughts on that is just the browse line that giraffe create. There's a good division of feeding. So they will eat the top stuff, which really is only restricted to very tall animals or things like elephants, maybe male kudus who can sort of lasso those branches in those horns and pull those leaves that are higher up, lower down to be eaten. You can often see a very obvious browse line, but generally the lower stuff is therefore available for the shorter members of the herbivores. In terms of vegetation dynamics, we do know that giraffe inadvertently pollinate a lot of these acacia trees. Many of the flowers on there are actually that are produced by acacias are sterile because they know that the giraffe is just going to eat them, so they don't waste energy creating all the reproductive parts on every single flower. But during their feeding on those little acacia leaves, then inadvertently pollen is dusted onto their head and their bodies, and then when they visit other trees they assist in pollination. It's primarily done by wind, but we do know that giraffes do play a role to a certain extent. Don't really think so much in terms of seed dispersal. They don't really eat, or not very often recorded eating seed pods and things. That's more for the mega herbivores and the bulk herbivores. It's lovely to see this family of warthogs coming down for a drink. Lady Babette, you're also pointing out the fact that they are important pollinators. Yep. And I'm sure many other animals are in just the same way, but perhaps just not being recorded so often and not as mainstream knowledge, dare I say that, as giraffe. I remember watching a giraffe eating the flowers off a bushveld gardenia a few years ago. So I know they're generally well known for pollinating or potentially assisting in pollination of things like knobthorns, but I reckon they're also for other things that they eat flowers off as well. Right, let's take a trip to Thornybush and to Serendella. Rather imperious looking Egyptian goose just as we left there, but look, we've got some dugger boys where those two heads are perfectly lined up. It's rather pleasing to the eye. It seems to be a theme for the day. We had that Gensbok staring or drinking directly down the camera, and I don't think we could have lined up the two sets of buffalo horns any better either. Now, buffalo, of course, is very important, as is the hippo, though, for the ecosystem. They eat a lot of grass, consume a lot of seeds, produce an awful lot of dung, and those big herds do a great job in bulk grazing the more fibrous, taller grasses that many other antelope species don't want to eat. And when they're in their big numbers moving through the bush, their hooves, constant foot traffic, breaking up that crusty topsoil that's been baked in the sun and producing an awful lot of dung, which is then trodden into the ground by all the buffalo behind them. So they do actually almost like ploughing the fields and then planting the seeds behind them. And of course, hippos, very, very important in terms of sharing that nutrient cycle between the land and the water, feeding on land at nighttime, and then coming back to the water during the day, defecating, and bringing a lot of that nutrients or those nutrients to the water, which in turn feeds fish and bacteria and microbes and all the important things that allow these aquatic ecosystems to take place. So everything plays its role. It's always the beauty of an ecosystem. I always say it's a bit like a house made out of bricks. The more bricks you've got, the more sturdy your house, the more members of your ecosystem, the more solid your ecosystem is, and it means you can afford to lose one or two members. A very happy hippo. One or two members and your house doesn't fall over and your ecosystem doesn't collapse if one or two things change. Roger, you're asking about buffalo's aggressive behavior towards predators. They indeed are aggressive towards predators, particularly lions, well known for their mobbing behavior, working together as a group. Particularly the dominant bulls in a herd will come together and actively chase off predators like lions. Also very well documented to come in and rescue other members of the group. But the lions have kind of learned this. The strategy of hunting a buffalo herd is they tend to run into the herd, cause chaos, break all those divisions, scatter them, and then try and isolate an individual and subdue it before such time as the herd has figured out what's going on, relaxed a little bit, come back together and formed ranks and return to try and oust the lions and rescue their fallen comrade, which they do very, very regularly. Many a buffalo has been saved by its brethren. But these individual dugger boys, they are often taken out by lions without the protection and that safety of the herd structure. And we know they are formidable, incredibly strong, incredibly cantankerous. But if a lion has the correct hunting strategies, and there are lion prides that understand the methodologies required to better hunt certain prey items than others. I mean, I've seen 2 lionesses take out a full-grown dugger boy before. Hugely strong, but if done correctly, it is certainly an opportunity for plenty of food, put it that way. Risk reward. Ellie, you're also commenting that hippos are great fertilizers. Yep, indeed. Yeah, but let's stay in the vicinity and pop next door to King's Camp in the Tippavati. Oh, that beautiful big elephant bull having a mud bath. Might be a record for the amount of time we've gone before we've seen an elephant on the screen. Maybe 45 minutes. There's another one. Boy, also rather beautiful. Huge bulls at King's. Shelley, you're asking how do hippos communicate underwater versus on land? Well, they can do both simultaneously, by all accounts. They share some similarities in terms of the larynx and the vocal cord structure to whales. But unlike whales that can produce sound without having to necessarily exhale air, they have some specialized air sacs in their respiratory system, which can sort of siphon air through on demand to allow the whales to sing. But hippos can also create sort of infrasonic sound underwater, and they can do so underwater and above water simultaneously. There are some experiments that have been done with low-frequency microphones being held underwater, and you can hear these sort of clicks and rumbles that are being produced by the hippos. I'm not sure whether we've got a particularly good grasp of precisely what is being said, but certainly they do and can communicate underwater, but it's all to do with exhaling air from the lungs through the larynx, and so a slightly different design of the larynx and those vocal cords as other animals, just to facilitate the sound production underwater. Spuss, you're saying you enjoyed watching the buffalo soaking in the water and the fact that the hippo was tolerating them. I don't think they were causing the hippo too much concern, and I think he's used to having to share that resource with other animals. He has elephants coming down to drink, various other antelopes. I think if I remember watching that one from months ago, he seems to be a little bit uncomfortable when all the elephants came down, but I think it's something that the hippo begins to deal with as it grows up, becomes more habituated to sharing that waterhole. But it is indeed nice to see the buff. But there again, you do get grumpy hippos which will try and protect their water and chase away other animals, which we have seen on these cameras before. Some lovely big bulls here at King's Camp. Let's try our luck at Rosie's Pan and see what's happening there. Wow, close up of a hippo. A very close up of a hippo. See those specially adapted nostrils opening and closing. I was asked the other day about hippos' respiratory systems and how they are different from other animals. I did do a quick little bit of reading. The main difference, it seems to be that they have quite spongy lungs, which can keep an awful lot of air, but they also have particularly attractive hemoglobin, which is the thing in our blood that the oxygen connects to. It's an iron molecule with some electrons that oxygen then attaches to as it's transported through the blood and released as where it is needed to be. And it seems that hippos have a particularly say, attractive form of hemoglobin that allows lots and lots of oxygen to stick there and can very efficiently transport it around the body, allowing hippos to hold their breath for 4 or 5 minutes, maybe even longer, perhaps even up to 10 minutes under extreme circumstances. This one, it seems, is quite content just blowing bubbles. And there's another one, that's why. Or is that, no, that is just his nostrils. And maybe all of those bubbles is stuff being released from the muddy gloop at the bottom of the pan. Maybe some activity by fish. Maybe there's little fish.
We'll see you out on the safari.
It could be a very exciting morning. The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold. A mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Well, it was lovely to have some close-up views of the hippo and really see the texture of that skin and watch the nostrils open and close, see some of those very, very stout whiskers that the hippos have got. But let's head over to Camp Jabalani now. Oh, beautiful. And a water monitor, a water legovan. Look at those markings. I would say sunning himself, but seems to be predominantly lying in the shade, but just enjoying the ambient temperature, if nothing else. Easier to regulate temperature probably in the shade than it is in direct sunlight. It has been very warm the last few days. We've been up into the mid-30s in this area. Summer definitely coming. Humidity levels definitely rising. It's a rather leopard pose that this little guy has adopted. With really beautiful markings, far more striking and more streamlined than its cousin, the rock monitor. You can really see those claws. They look like little velociraptor claws, but very important for digging. One of their favorite foods, of course, is crocodile eggs, digging up crocodile eggs on the shoreline. Also very well adept for burrowing into termite mounds, which is where water monitors will lay their eggs. Got slightly sleepy eyes as well, as eyes closed just enough to make that stripe running through his head all seem continuous. Well, now closed his eyes, having a nice little snooze in the sun. I don't know if it's just me or whether it's the slightly judderiness nature of the camera, but I'm sure I can even see its chest cavity rising and falling as he breathes as well. Also just noticed those little white marks at the base of the claws, almost makes him look like he's wearing rings. Shelley, you want to know how the Nile monitor's genetic adaptations have enabled it to thrive across diverse African habitats? Shelley, if I'm honest, I couldn't tell you any specific adaptations that I'm aware of in monitors that are different from other reptiles that have allowed them to do particularly well. I know there is an idea that they do contain a sort of a venom in their saliva in terms of hunting things. I think the ability or the decision, I don't know what the right word is, to lay eggs in termite mounds is genius. And I'm sure that helps in terms of success of rearing young. That protects from the heat. One thing we do know about termite mounds, of course, is that the design of the mound leads to a very stable temperature, which is important when it comes to incubating anything. So I think that's probably helped. But as far as I know, that is only in the water monitors. I don't believe rock monitors are known to do that, or certainly not as often. So yeah, I don't know, but they've pretty much covered land and water, different morphological differences, so much longer and vertically flattened tail to act as a propulsion method through the water. Probably the larger body size for the rock monitor for dealing with the heat. But very, very beautiful to see. Right, let's head up to Kenya and check in at Oldonyo for the first time today. Giraffes and zebras taking advantage of the lack of elephants at the moment. Possibly jumping at their own shadow a little bit, which they have a tendency to do. Oh, interesting. I've just done a quick little check on monitors to see if there is anything unique to monitors compared to other reptiles. And whilst I'll have to go through this a little bit more carefully, it does seem like they do have some quite specific adaptations. A unidirectional airflow in the lungs goes through in a one-way loop rather than backward and forward. So a little bit like air sacs in birds. That allows them to move around for longer periods and be more efficient in their activities. So yeah, that does seem like their lungs have air sacs, so bigger area for gas exchange. Specialized heart, a little bit like a crocodile, but not as well adapted as crocs, but all helping the lungs and the blood flow to be more efficient. Strangely intelligent. They've been shown to have exhibit problem solving, spatial learning, and potentially even counting behavior with a large brain to body ratio. Wow, there's actually quite a lot of interesting stuff about monitors that I didn't know, so I'm going to have to do some more digging on monitors. But this is why we love the show, and you guys ask these questions and makes us go and research things. And I always say knowledge is power. I love understanding more about what I'm seeing. It just makes it all far more immersive. This giraffe and Neil, I'm both looking on at this impala as if to say, what are you doing? Vic, you're asking how do giraffe sensory adaptations compare to other large herbivores? Again, I'd have to do some digging to see if there is anything specific, but I imagine they're rather similar. They've got good hearing, they have exceptionally good eyesight and can see over long distances, certainly. Olfactory-wise, in terms of a sense of smell, I mean, we see them investigating, or males investigating females' urine and dung and analyzing the hormones for reproductive status. And all of those sorts of things, which is the same that we see in most large herbivores. So I don't know of anything specific in terms of sensory adaptations, but I'll look into it and see if I can find anything more. I'm doing this show again tomorrow and the next day, so a good opportunity for me to do some homework. And I will report back to you tomorrow, Vic, if I found out anything specific. The nice thing is there's a lot of research on these larger herbivores, things like giraffe, which is fairly easy to come by. It's well documented, but I'm sure there have been some specific papers looking at the olfactory capabilities and the sight and the vision and things of giraffes specifically. So I'll see if I can dig out a few papers and see what I can find. But gut reaction, out of all of them, I would think their sight is probably their biggest benefit. Being high up, it makes sense to be able to see quite accurately over long distances. Being slightly harassed with an oxpecker on the face. Wondering if that female might be just showing a little bit of signs of pregnancy there. Belly just looks slightly more rounded than I would normally expect. Of course, they do give birth at any time during the year, but there will be a peak during the rainy seasons. What is attracting your attention, Mr. Giraffe? Both giraffes.
Full name is Maxine Gaines. Best part of the job, gosh, I just love everything about guiding. I love being able to observe animal behavior and animals behaving naturally. So for me, that's by far the best part of the job. And so what we do here at Wild Earth is develop those connections with the people that are viewing and maybe just light a little spark that says, you know what, I want to be involved in protecting this ecosystem. Some ellies that we're approaching now.
The light on her as well is absolutely gorgeous.
So we are going to enjoy the rest of this sunset.
Wow, this is absolutely crazy.
And thank you for joining us. For myself and Cam, we will see you next time.
We are here with a male leopard.
This one closest to the camera has a rather sort of a brownish, almost chestnutty coloration, a little bit more orangey brown than I'm used to seeing. Maybe it's just still young, perhaps hasn't quite developed that more sort of slaty grey adult colour. Pretty furry little things, of course, and we got a brief look at that very characteristic and rather fetching heart-shaped nose when this youngster popped its head up before. But particularly enjoying the swept forward horns of the bull. And looks like a young bull in the background as well. Definitely enjoying some of this nice grass. I'm always surprised that we don't see more animals feeding on here, especially over the last few months that has been so dry. It's not often you see many things actually in the water eating this grass. I'd love to know what species it is, to know whether there is some sort of toxin in there to make it a little bit less palatable, whether animals are just a bit nervous to wade into the water with crocodiles around to make the most of it, possibly also absorbing some toxins and things from the water, particularly when the water is low. Maybe waterbuck have got a specialised bacteria and things in their stomach to deal with it. I don't know if there are any ex-Tau people watching who could actually give me the specific species of grass that's growing here, but it would be interesting to find out a little bit more. See, we've had a message from, and apologies in advance for the pronunciation, but Sesame Kwanazi. You say you'll be visiting the southern end of Kruger and the Marloth Park area sometime soon, this coming weekend, and you're very much looking forward to seeing animals roaming around because you love them so much. And it is amazing just to live in environments like that. I'm very, very fortunate to stay in a wildlife estate myself. As I said, I've had giraffe in the garden this morning. We have a porcupine that we sometimes see in the evenings, a little family of duiker as well. Zebras that come through quite regularly, kurus and yalas, warthogs. It is pretty special to be able to live in places like this and see wildlife roaming through your land from your windows or sitting outside with them. And so the bird life here is spectacular as well. So, Ceci, I'm sure you'll have a wonderful time, and I hope you see some cool stuff and that you get to visit the park as well. It's right on your doorstep, so very much encourage you to do so. Southern end of the park, a little bit busier, but very, very good game density, particularly there close to Crocodile Bridge with the Crocodile River. So well worth a trip, and hopefully you see some amazing stuff. Nice to see some foliage on the acacias in the background for the first time in a while as well. Poor animals up in Madikwe have been struggling for food. It has been a very dry period. I'm not sure how much or if any rain has been had there recently, but it is coming. There is potentially rain forecast in the low fells at least in the next few days. And certainly the humidity levels are rising. I was out late last night because it was clear skies, doing some photography. I was after the Andromeda galaxy last night, which is a tough one for me to photograph here in the southern hemisphere because it never really climbs very high above the northeastern horizon, and unfortunately where I'm located there's a bit of light glow from Palabora in that direction. But I managed to get a couple of hours of photos there, but it was still quite warm and humid up until sort of 11 o'clock last night. It started to cool off by about midnight, but I did have quite a late night last night, but I have to take opportunities whilst I can with the cloud cover that does tend to roll in around this time of year. It's me. Right, well, it seems we've headed to Rosie's Pan for some ephalops.
Even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now.
leopard, hyena, lion all together in one shot. Oh.
Ooh.
This is action-packed.
Would you like to know what an elephant's favorite food is? You could ask me questions like that in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive from the heart of Africa. Over here. Watch Safari Live and connect with nature.
Oh, she's gonna catch it!
Come on, Tommy! Watch this, we're about to see a kill.
You can see how close he is from where I am. Out here, every moment counts. As a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7 and rewind if you want to catch something again. Enjoy behind the scenes videos, fireside chats and early access to travel offers. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Relationship with the honey badger, the two of them foraging together. Slightly bigger than our dark chantings, but very, very similar in terms of coloration and form. Ray Joubert, you were saying how magical and therapeutic is this elephant. I'm sorry that we removed the elephants from your view and showed you a bird, but not every day you get to see a goshawk coming down for a drink. We can offer you a wildebeest Ray Joubert. I hope that will suffice for now. With a gemsbok in the background, I'm sure we will show you some more ellies. Looks like quite a few have been having a scratch on this tree stump, or this dead tree in the water. You can see the caked mud being captured in the middle there. And some of our national animal. Ah, there you go, Ray Joubert. There is a therapeutic elephant for you. Looks like he's got a blacked out toenail on that front foot. I don't know if it's just been in the mud or whether or not occasionally those toenails also die, like in humans, and turn black, or has that toenail come off because they are not sort of properly attached in the way they are to us. They're what we call floating toenails. A rather interesting little black patch on its toe. A very harsh environment, lots of rocks in this area. If you're dragging your toes, just stubbing your toe if you're an elephant would be quite painful. And they do have a tendency to kick at the soil as well. Perhaps this time of year has been digging around for roots and tubers. And if he has dislodged a toenail, that could have been one of the ways in which he's done it, by kicking at the sand. And here come a few more. Lots more. A little greeting. The original one doesn't seem to be too sociable at the moment. You see the way the ears came out, and just looks slightly dubious about these other ones approaching him. He did look like maybe he was having a little doze at the time. He's had his slumber disturbed by what's turned out to be a large herd of elephants coming in at Safari Hook. Lots of youngsters, a big caravan of them. I just think how much water is being removed from these sources when a herd like this comes through, drinking 100 litres of water each, at least. Some of those adults, a little bit less for the youngsters, but you're talking thousands potentially of litres of water that are being removed from this waterhole by just one herd coming in to drink like this. So I'm glad you're enjoying these Ellies at Safari Hook. And no, I don't think I have ever seen an elephant with a damaged toenail like that before. I'm still not sure whether it was just muddy, but it did look as if the toenail itself was missing potentially. I did notice on the other foot almost like one of those toenails had been cracked. But say my best guess, if they are damaged, is that they've been having to search so far and wide and hard for food and moisture content in what they're eating that perhaps they've been doing a lot of digging, say, for tubers and things. Maybe damaged its toenail in that regard. Got the feeling he's feeling a little bit left out now. I'm just going to come and drink with the rest of the group. So again, the other big bull there towering over the females and the youngsters. Possibly trying to woo one of those females, placing the trunk over her back, although I see no obvious signs of him being in must. Maybe just doing some groundwork. Ooh, Nara. What animal do I think is least expected to have a sense of play? Well, I think play to me suggests emotional intelligence, to be able to play with other things. I suppose it's a little bit semantics of what is play. I can't imagine reptiles playing, for example, or frogs, but most mammals play, or at least frolic. Trying to think if there's any that I've seen which I've been surprised at and wouldn't expect them to do so. Nothing springing to mind. If anybody has any suggestions, by all means, send them through and put them up for discussion. But I can't think of anything that stands out, Nora, off the top of my head. You see birds playing, but is interactions considered play? Well, I think most mammals play, particularly the social mammals, maybe less so in those ones that are solitary or form individual bonds. I'd love to see so many elephants at Safari Hook, but sounds like we're going to take a trip to the Pilanesberg now in South Africa to Kwamaratam. And we have some potentially play going on between two kudus. I'd say, is this play? I would say not necessarily play. This is practice. It's certainly not a vicious fight, but this is how animals learn. And kudus do have to be careful not to get entangled. It does happen sometimes. There's potentially some pecking order establishment. Good little bit of exercise, keep those neck muscles in good shape. Understand the best techniques to use those horns when it comes to fighting for dominance and for mating opportunities. Bundu, you're saying marabou storks seem to play with sticks? I've never witnessed that myself. Maybe there's a throwback to some sort of tool use, or it's residual tool use, or maybe the inklings of tool use. Possibly hippos playing with sticks as well. That we've seen. We see Dewey do that quite regularly, and various other hippos being shown to do so. Lady Macbeth, you're saying you think play is unique to mammals. I think I'm agreeing with you there. I'm racking my brains to see if I can think of any other play in other groups of animals, but I can't off the top of my head. So I think it has to do with brain size and processing power to some extent. Mr. Elemental, you're saying rock dassies are too cross to play. They always do look rather grumpy, don't they? Yeah, but these two kudus seem to have settled whatever minor dispute that they were having. Or maybe not. On the right seems to be slightly less interested in what's going on now. Nope, seems to have been enticed again into a little bit more boxing. It is also a dangerous thing to be doing this if you're an antelope. You're not paying attention to your surroundings, and various predators have been shown to be attracted towards the sounds of clashing horns because they've learnt that those animals are not then paying attention and are perhaps more easily snuck up upon. Deb D, you're asking, was that a quick baboon sighting? Deb D, I did not see a baboon. I did see what I thought looked like a vervet monkey slightly earlier, whilst those kurus were headbutting one another. But it's quite possible there are baboons around as well. But I did not see one. But maybe it was a young baboon. The noise in the background sounds more baboon-like than vervet, but they were off to the left somewhere. Oh, a zebra enjoying the shade. Right, sounds like there's some more activity at Founders down in the Eastern Cape. Let's head over there. Ah, beautiful. Always nice to see a rhino, or two, I think, by the looks of it. Mother and calf. They're very passive drinkers, rhinos. She just looks as if she's just laying her muzzle on the water, but I'm sure sucking up many, many litres in the process. Should see a great deal of movement. Of course, this youngster going to harass the blacksmith lapwing. He looks a bit bored. They can be full of personality, these young rhinos, particularly the young males. I have noticed it in white rhinos quite a lot, that young boys seem to be far more precocious than the young girls. They'll often come and investigate the vehicles and bounce around and sort of mock charge, whereas the females a little bit more reserved, keep their distance. Maybe a little excess testosterone in these young rhinos gives them a bit of false confidence, but they'll often come close and then realise that the car hasn't moved away, and they will then run back to mum just for safety. Oh, here comes another one. Lola, from what age do rhinos make noises? I don't know, Lola, but from quite a young age, it's one of the, we've talked last time I was on about some of the sounds in the bush that people like and don't like, and I wasn't willing to say any that I didn't like. But the sound of a rhino who is trying to elicit feeding is one of everybody's favourite sound, that very high-pitched, squealy noise that they make. So I would think quite early on, Lola, but I couldn't tell you exactly what age they are capable. They may be capable of it pretty much from birth, but I would imagine within the first month at least. Betty Meyer in Johannesburg, you're saying, what a beautiful scene. And you are very right. The rolling hills of the Eastern Cape. And 3 rhinos, including the next generation. Very, very special to see.
My name is Amy, and behind the camera with me is Paul. And I mean, to be able to share it with all of you. Fingers crossed, and I'll make sure I wear my lucky leopard socks as well.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
Do you want to know why impala are the most common antelope we find here in the Kruger National Park? You can ask me questions like this in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on Safari Live. Connect with nature.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature, live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
Right, let's head back over to Safari Hook and see if those elephants are still hanging around. Let's see what's going on with this little exchange between these two. I'm trying to figure out if the one on the right is considerably bigger than the one on the left, or if it is just the height difference. No, I think the one on the right is slightly larger, possibly as shown by its the retreat of this other one. But again, would this be considered play? We've got rather potentially submissive behaviour. See the penis out of its sheath now. Again, all just good ways of establishing hierarchy, strengthening bonds, practicing for times ahead. If we're going to see some dominance behavior, I believe there may have been some mounting attempts. Yeah, possibly. This is all about trying to establish dominance over one another. Or it's a very confused elephant. And you can see how the muscles work in their penis. That's what elephants have to do. It's very difficult with their anatomical structure once, if this was a male and a female, to, how should I put it, perform the correct actions. So the penis has to do a lot of the work for itself and move around independently. Very clever adaptation. Deb D, you're pointing out they both have very small tusks. They do, I would agree. Could be a genetic thing, but neither of these two are fully grown yet. Still sort of late teens, I would suggest. So still will be some growth to be had. But very interesting to watch. And so we see that in quite a few mammal species. We see male giraffes mounting each other. I've seen it with lions as well. Various antelope species. LEPR, you're saying, I'm your friend, but I'm still bigger than you. Yeah, just establishing that hierarchy. The other one didn't seem to be too bothered, though, I have to say. Seen it all before. Yep, get off. Well, his advances have been somewhat rebuffed. He's just getting the back turned on him now. Didn't appreciate that. Let's get the impression of watching him out the corner of his eye. Possibly there was a little frustration. I think the larger of the two was the one that we saw who came in with the herd. The other one was the one already at the water. So perhaps the other one was trying his luck with the herd, didn't get anywhere. So was feeling slightly perturbed by that and took it out on this slightly smaller male. Investigating that trunk. There must be some really interesting smells on these rubbing posts for animals with such an acute smell, such as elephants. It sounds like we have quite a few giraffe up at Old Donya. Let's head up to Kenya. Wow, that is a lot of giraffe. A tower or a stretch of giraffe. Just a melee of necks. It really is a beautiful sight, all these giraffes together having a drink. It's an awkward grace. Jack Diamond, do you want to know what age is an elephant bull fully grown? Well, elephants sort of continuously grow, really, so they get bigger and heavier as they get older. But in terms of how I would interpret that, say a fully grown bull elephant, to me that says at what age is he going to have breeding opportunities, because he is then big enough and strong enough to fight off rival males. Normally, we wouldn't see that in elephant society until around about the age of 30, maybe even 35. So it's a long time to wait for these elephants. They've got to grow big enough and strong enough to be able to fend off rival males. Remember, what normally happens is that a female, when she comes into estrus, she will be flooding the air with the scent of the fact that she's potentially ready to mate. She'll be releasing infrasonic rumbles to attract males. All the males in that area will pick up on that, and they will slowly start to head towards where that sound is coming from. And then they will invariably bump into each other as they are approaching. They will then fight amongst themselves for hierarchy. So the biggest, most dominant male ends up being the one who finds the herd and potentially has mating opportunities. And so that is not normally until the 30s, I would suggest. It's a particularly wide spread this female at the back has got. That characteristic sounds like somebody pushing a squeaky wheelbarrow. That's just the contact calls of the helmeted guinea fowl that we can see in the background. And that very sharp flick the other giraffe a bit of a fright, just fast movement, but it's just that nuchal ligament that runs down the back of the neck, snapping back into place. It's how they hold their head up high and keep that neck straight. They're not using any muscles to do that. There's a very strong elasticated ligament. That is its natural position, holding the head high. And then when they bend down to drink, that elastic ligament is stretched, and when they finish drinking, it snaps back into place.
This is an unbelievable afternoon.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating, so you don't have to.
Would you like to know at what age a buffalo calf gets its horns? These are questions that you can ask me in real time. Our safaris are live and interactive here in the heart of Africa. Join me on Safari Live and connect with nature.
Ah, the bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold. A mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
And perfect mud wallowing opportunity for elephants once the rains arrive. Obviously, more wind there than it suggests by looking at the vegetation. I hardly see the trees or the leaves moving at all, but you can see the extent of the wind when that dust is kicked up. Just goes to show there's often a lot more wind than you realise. One of the most important things you can have whilst walking in the bush is what we call an ash bag. So very, very easy to make one. If you don't have one, you can just use an old sock, fill it with ash from a campfire, and then you can just take it out and give it a little shake. And so fine are those grains that if there is any wind whatsoever, it'll give you an idea of wind direction, particularly when approaching elephants on foot, because of their incredibly sensitive smell. Always best to try and approach them from downwind. So you should be checking wind direction every few seconds and being aware of where the wind is at all times. Are you walking with the wind? Are you walking against the wind? Are you giving your position away to animals? Or are you likely to potentially stumble into something because the wind is carrying your scent and your sound in the opposite direction? So an essential item in your trails kit should be an ash bag of some description. Roy is saying thank you for the show today, and sometimes you think it's the only thing that keeps me sane. Well, Roar, I'm sorry if you're having a tough time of it, but I am very, very happy to hear that these visuals and hopefully some of the commentary that I've been able to give you and the discussions that we've had have made your day. That is the whole point of this show. You can keep it on mute if you want and just enjoy the visuals, but hopefully we're all learning stuff as well at the same time. And as somebody said earlier, it is very, very therapeutic and a wonderful opportunity to explore so many different habitats, so many different species in terms of the diversity that we get in all of these different locations. We're so lucky to have so many locations to choose from. And we have seen some pretty awesome things today. Those mounting elephants were rather interesting. I particularly enjoyed the secretary birds that we saw. That water monitor was beautiful. Nice to check in with some buffalo as well. And all of those giraffe together at Aldonho. But we are almost done for the day, unfortunately, the last minute or so of the show. Don't forget, you can catch up with the rest of the team on the Sunset Safari in a couple of hours' time, so don't miss that. Never know what you might see. I'll be back again tomorrow, so between 11 and 1 o'clock African time. And I hope that you will all be joining us as well, and we can continue some of these discussions. I will see what I can find out if there's any specific sensory adaptations that giraffe have in particular, and I shall delve a little deeper into monitors as well, in the hope that we see some more tomorrow. But thank you everyone for joining us. Thanks for your questions, for your interactions. Have a fabulous rest of your Wednesday, and I will catch up with you tomorrow.